That's right. So, Archana, can you read?
Yes, Rangadhar.
Okay, go ahead.
Now I can read comfortably after some time. Okay. In the descent into the material plane of which our natural life is a product, the lapse culminates in a total inconscience out of which an involved being and consciousness have to emerge by a gradual evolution. This inevitable evolution first develops as it is bound to develop mat- This inevitable evolution first develops as it is bound to develop matter and a material universe. In matter, life appears and living physical beings. In life, mind manifests and in life, mind manifests and embodied thinking and living beings. In mind, ever increasing its powers and activities in forms of matter, the supermind or truth consciousness must appear inevitably by the very force of what is contained in the inconscience and the necessity in nature to bring it into manifestation. Supermind appearing manifests the spirit's self knowledge and whole knowledge in a supramental living being and must bring about by the same law, by an inherent necessity and inevitability, the dynamic manifestation here of the divine existence, consciousness, and delight of existence. It is this that is the significance of the plan and order of the terrestrial evolution. It is this necessity that must determine all its steps and degrees, its principle and its process. Mind, life, and matter are the realized powers of the evolution and well known to us. Supermind and the triune aspects of Sachidanand are the secret principles which are not yet put in front and have still to be realized in the forms of the manifestation. And we know them only by hints and a partial and fragmentary action, still not disengaged from the lower movement and therefore not easily recognizable. But their evolution too is a part of the destiny of the soul in the becoming. There must be a realization and dynamization in earth life and in matter, not only of mind, but of all that is above it, all that has descended indeed, but is still concealed in earth life and matter.
Okay, so fairly good, quite a long para, but the main idea here is that there is an involution of Satchidananda into the opposite of itself, and therefore it is bound to, he is going on stressing that, bound to evolve. Okay. Now, why is that bound to evolve? Suppose there is something which has got involved in something. Why is it bound to evolve? Because it's an infinite Satchidananda. Its force is infinite. Its consciousness is infinite. And nothing finite can stop the infinite from emerging. That is, the force is too much. The force of the infinite is far, far greater than the force of the finite. Therefore, it is bound. He is going on stressing the bound right from the beginning to the end. Okay? Evolution is bound to happen. So we'll go through each sentence and see what he says. In the descent into the material plane, of which our natural life is a product. Which is our natural life? Our body, our mind, and our vital. That is our natural life. Is a product. It's a product of the material plane. Okay? But this supermind, not even supermind, even the Satchidananda has descended into the matter, and it's a game. It's a game that it is playing with itself. Okay? I will plunge myself into the opposite of myself, and I will escape from it not once, not twice, not 100 times. I will keep doing this through infinite number of people who are representative of me only. I'll do this with every human being. Okay, it has to be human being, not animals, because animals are not capable of what man is capable of. Okay? So there is a game, and he has made rules for it. The rules are that the obstructions will be maximum, and still I will be able to conquer them. That is Satchidananda. So, in the descent into the material plane, of which our natural life is a product, the lapse culminates in a total inconscience. What is the lapse? Lapse of consciousness, lapse of force, lapse of ananda. Right? It comes and ends up in the total inconscience. No consciousness at all. Apparently, there is nothing in it. Okay? Out of which an involved being and consciousness. Being is substance and consciousness, we all know, Chetna, have to emerge by gradual evolution. Even they see he have to emerge. Why? Because we just now stressed that the infinite is too powerful for the finite. But note interestingly that the inconscience is not only finite. Finite in a certain sense, but it's also the infinite. Therefore, they are almost equally matched in the beginning. But the Satchidananda will win in the end because it is more powerful than the inconscient. So therefore, emergence is sure, but it's a very slow emergence. The fight between consciousness and unconsciousness is a very keen one. It does not end quickly. It's a very, because they're almost fully matched. Okay. Ultimately, consciousness will win, but it takes a long time. Okay. This inevitable evolution, note the word inevitable, because the power of the divine is more than the darkness of the inconscient. Inevitable evolution first develops, as it is bound to develop, matter and a material universe. So first of all, from the inconscient, matter comes out. Now you can also note here that matter is not the last. Sometimes in very loose language, in a matter of speaking, in a way of speaking, matter is considered to be the inconscient. But actually it is not. Even in matter, there is consciousness and force. But in inconscient, it seems to be absolutely covered up. Okay? Matter, there is consciousness, we know that, because and consciousness is power. And now we have learned even how to get energy out of matter. We know that. We have learned how to do it. But we still don't know how to get consciousness out of matter. We know and Ananda also out of matter, we still have to learn how to do that. But we have learned how to bring out the energy, the force, Shakti from matter. And interestingly, also note that not all matter yields its energy. Only some forms of matter yields energy. For instance, wood, okay, charcoal, these are all matter, but they can provide us with energy. Okay, we can burn charcoal and we get energy. We can burn wood and we can get energy. But we have not learned how to extract energy from a stone. Also, we have learned how to get energy out of uranium, but we still don't know how to get energy out of gold, silver, or even aluminium. We still don't know. Actually, in that mother's play, okay, mother's play was in which there were scientists and materialists and researcher or rishi, they are all in a boat and they are all talking. That is the drama. So there, Pavitra played the scientist, and he said that the ideal for science would be to get energy out of anything, even water. Okay. Now, note interestingly that we are learning even how to get energy out of hydrogen. Okay, that's the latest. So, but ideally, we should be able to get energy out of matter in any form. Okay. So that's just by aside, but to make things clear. Okay, it's very interesting. So now I go back to the text. This inevitable evolution first develops, as it is bound to develop, matter and a material universe. In matter, life appears and living physical beings. In life, mind manifests and embodied thinking and living beings. Now, this is very interesting. From matter is coming out life. But when you have living creatures, note interestingly that the principle of matter also is there and the principle of life also is there. But it is matter, it is based on matter. All living creatures have matter in them. There is no life on earth without matter. Okay? So that's very interesting. Similarly, when there's a mental consciousness comes into, the evolution comes out, note interestingly that there is also matter. It is your brain which is matter, which is capable of thought. The matter in a life is not capable of thought. It's only capable of thinking, of energy. Okay, so I'm mentioning this because it's a very interesting thing. Your brain is matter, but it is capable of thought. Okay? Whereas your muscle is matter, but not capable of thought. It's capable of action, but not thought. It's capable of force. So, what will be the supramental body? That also will be matter, but it will be capable of thought, it will be capable of energy, it will also be capable of a divine consciousness. Okay? And full divine consciousness. So the base will always be matter. That's an interesting thing. Evolution does not mean that human beings develop their consciousness only and leave matter where it is. This is Sri view that all the evolution will be based in matter. There should be no unclear thinking about this. Okay? Evolution of consciousness is there now, and a yogi can live in the higher levels of consciousness. He can even go to the supramental. But the matter has not yet been supramentalized. So if matter can be made living, okay, and it can be made capable of thought, why can't it be capable of housing in itself the divine consciousness? That's the next race. That's the supramental race. Okay, but it will be matter based. Remember that. Huh? It will be matter based. So I come back to my text. Life appears in living beings, living physical beings. Note what Srila is very capable of. He is saying very clearly, life appears and living physical beings. Okay, he is mentioning exactly what we discussed just now. In life, mind manifests and embodied thinking. Note that very clearly. That's exactly what we discussed just now. The thinking is capable of matter, embodied thinking, and living beings. We discuss in detail, but Swamdev is not discussing in detail, but he's saying exactly what we discussed just now. Okay? In mind, ever increasing its powers and activities in forms of matter. Again, see very clearly, not outside forms of matter. Outside forms of matter, the consciousness then it goes to the second level, the spiritual planes of consciousness. It is evolution, but it is not evolution in matter. Okay? Whereas Swamdev is wanting evolution in matter. Okay? Right now, a yogi can live in the higher levels of consciousness, but his body-mind life is not transformed. It remains exactly where it is. See how important is the living physical beings and also embodied thinking and living beings. Okay? So whatever evolution has to take place, it will be taking place in matter. Okay? This is something that does not strike us very easily, but this is exactly what he's saying. In mind, ever increasing its powers and activities in forms of matter, there again very clearly, the supermind or truth consciousness must appear inevitably. Again, he is stressing, okay? Inevitably. Why? We have discussed it just now. Because the consciousness has got infinite power. So nothing can stop it from emerging. Okay? Supermind or truth consciousness must appear inevitably by the very force of what is contained in the inconscious and the necessity in nature to bring it into manifestation. Okay? There is a necessity in nature. That necessity in nature is the divine consciousness, which refuses to be blocked up and locked up in matter forever. It cannot be. Supermind appearing manifests the spirit's self-knowledge and whole knowledge in a supramental living being. Note very clearly, he's saying living being, and must bring about by the same law, by an inherent necessity and inevitability, the dynamic manifestation here of the divine existence, consciousness, and delight of existence. So, constantly you will see Sri Aurobindo going back to Satchidananda. Divine existence, Sat. Divine consciousness, Chit. Delight of existence, Ananda. So, that highest level of Ananda must descend and be capable of entering matter without losing its power of Satchidananda. Now, if it comes down, it loses its power of Satchidananda. Okay? But in evolution, one day will come when the Satchidananda will descend into matter without losing its divine qualities. Okay? It is this that is the significance of the plan and the order of the terrestrial evolution. Note the word plan. Okay? This is the game that is being played by the Satchidananda. He plunges himself into the opposite of himself and is evolving slowly. This is a game. So it's a game in earnest. Huh? It's not a pretension. The divine, when he enters into matter, it is a real. He really puts his barriers on his own progress and he is going up. It's not a pretension. This is a very interesting question because that's exactly what Niruddha asked Sri Aurobindo. Sir, you are divine and very easy for you to realize what you want to do, but we are all human beings and we don't know. We don't know. So Sri Aurobindo says, if that is the purpose, okay, then what is the use of an avatar? It's a pretense. It's a pretension. No, not at all. It's a real descent. And he shows you how to conquer the difficulties. If it's a pretense, then there's no point in an avatar coming down. Okay? So the difficulties created for himself is real. Okay? So it is this that is the significance of the plan and order of the terrestrial evolution. Note the word again, terrestrial evolution. Not evolution of consciousness which goes up and escapes the earth. Okay? That is happening. Many, many yogis can do that. Their body, mind, life remains here, but their consciousness rises up and remains there. They choose to remain there. It is this necessity that must determine all its steps and degrees, its principle and its process. So what are the steps and degrees? In Sri Aurobindo's view, 7 steps. Matter, life, mind, supermind, and Satchidananda. Or if you want to go from the top, Sat Chit Ananda, supermind, mind, life, body. Mind, life, mind. This is the degrees and the steps. There can be other systems where the steps are more or less. Okay? There are some who say only 3 steps. Gross world, subtle world, and causal world. And there are some who say only 2 necessary, not necessary to divide so much. This is spirit and matter, only there are 2 steps. It depends on how you are making your divisions. Okay? The Sri Aurobindo follows the Vedic system of the 7 steps. Okay? Its principle and its process. Life and matter are the realized powers of the evolution and well known to us. Life and matter, mind, life and matter, mind, life and matter are the realized powers. We see them. All they are there. But there are some which are yet to manifest. Supermind and the triune aspects of Satchidananda are the secret principles which are not yet put in front and have still to be realized in the forms of the manifestation. In the forms of the manifestation. In other words, in matter. Okay? So, you can go up, your consciousness can go up and experience Satchidananda. That doesn't solve the problem in the physical world. The physical world, Satchidananda has to come down into the forms of the manifestation. Not the word forms. When Sri Aurobindo uses the word form, 90% of the time he means material forms. Okay? Because there can be vital forms and also mental forms. But when he uses forms, it means the physical world. Stones, trees, whatever you want, mud, mountains. Okay? So, in the forms of manifestation. And we know them only by hints and a partial and fragmentary action still not disengaged from the lower movement and therefore not easily recognizable. So what is the meaning by disengaged? Satchidananda is already there in matter, but it has to be disengaged and brought out so that it becomes visible to all. That's what Chandra is saying. We know them only by hints and fragmentary action, spiritual experience. When you have spiritual experience, you realize that Satchidananda is there at a higher level. But you don't see the Satchidananda in matter, in the inconscient. You can see that it is there, but it has not yet manifested itself. But their evolution too is part of the destiny of the soul in the becoming. The becoming is the lower hemisphere. There must be a realization and dynamization in earth life. Note the word again, earth life. This realization of Satchidananda and its dynamization. What does that mean? It means it must be utilizable. Okay? Not a theoretical knowledge. It must be capable of being used. Knowledge must be used in earth life. Power must be used in earth life. And also Ananda must be absolutely steady in earth life. Not only temporary and transient pleasures. No. So, in earth life, again and again, Sriyamda is stressing that very clear. In earth life and matter, not only of mind, but of all that is above it. So, what is above it? Supermind, Sat, Chit, Anand, all are there above mind. And all that is descended indeed, but is still conceived in earth life and matter. He is repeating again, earth life and matter. So, the stress is very clear. Satchidananda is there, it has already involved itself, but it has involved itself in its opposite, which is almost equal to its own force. Okay? So that's why it is a very slow evolution. But it is bound to happen because it's a divine, infinite divine power. So it is evolution. But therefore it's a very slow. This is the game being played. These are the rules of the game. And the rules are not going to be changed. Okay? When Sri Aurobindo says that supermentalization of matter will take place, it does not mean that all matter will become supermental. Be very clear on that. Okay? Part of matter will be supermentalized. Just as there are animals in the physical world, and there are less human beings than animals, okay? And there are less yogis than human beings, there will be less supermental beings than even yogis perhaps. But it will be an indication that matter is capable of housing the Satchidananda consciousness. So everything will remain. Matter will remain, insects will remain, animals will remain, human beings will remain, yogis will remain. But the new element will be the supramental race, which is capable of a supramental consciousness, power and force. Both. Okay, so very interesting para, and ideas must be clear. That's what we discussed. So we can go to the next. What is the time? 25. We have got 15 minutes. We can read the next one.
But few will be supramentalized, few will be yogins, but the general mass of humanity will be as it is today.
Yes, but each one has the capacity to evolve. So those who are ready and have evolved through many lives, they will become yogis. And those yogis which are capable of further evolution will become supermental beings. You remember Mother's experience of the supermental boat. She is saying that some are ready and some are not ready. They have to go back to train themselves. So it's exactly that. So who will be depends on the individual itself.
So the end of the evolution will be when all human beings will become supramentalized.
Theoretically. But is that possible? Just now we discussed.
We don't know.
Yeah. I told you just
we
now.
We really don't know.
No. We do know. Because I'll tell you what. The evolution will never end. Will never end. It will go on and on. But the process of transformation and process of evolution will go on. Okay? If there is an end to evolution, that means there is a limit. How can there be a limit to the infinite? Okay, so
Okay.
this is exactly. And the supply, from where is the human being coming? He comes from the animal. From where is the animal coming? It comes from unicellular creatures, let us say. Where are the unicellular creatures coming? From the atoms. So the atoms are infinite. So the supply of souls coming from atom to insects to animals to human beings is a perennial process, eternal process. It's going on and on and on and on. Never end. Cerno says that even beyond the supermind, evolution will continue. It will never end. Note also, interestingly, Mother's charter for Auroville. She says it will be a place for unending research. So these are not just words, they are indications. Unending research. Auroville will be a place for unending research. Okay, so there can never be an end. Okay, so we can read the next para. Yasmin, if you have the text, you can read.
Yes, please.
Go ahead. Our theory.
Our theory of the integral knowledge admits mind as a creative principle, a power of the being, and assigns it its place in manifestation. It similarly accepts life and matter as powers of the spirit, and in them also is a creative energy. But the view of things that makes mind the soul or the supreme creative principle, and the philosophies that assign to life or matter the same soul reality or predominance, are expressions of a half truth and not the integral knowledge. It is true that when matter first emerges, it becomes the dominant principle. It seems to be and is within its own field the basis of all things, the constituent of all things, the end of all things. But matter itself is found to be a result of something that is not matter, of energy. And this energy cannot be something self existent and acting in the void, but can turn out and, when deeply scrutinized, seems likely to turn out to be the action of a secret consciousness and being. When the spiritual knowledge and experience emerge, this becomes a certitude. It is seen that the creative energy in matter is a movement of the power of the spirit. Matter itself cannot be the origin and ultimate reality. At the same time, the view that divorces matter and spirit and puts them as opposites is unacceptable. Matter is a form of spirit, a habituation of spirit, and here in matter itself, then there can be a realization of spirit.
What we have been discussing, the last sentence is very clear. And here in matter itself, there can be the realization of the spirit. The spirit will manifest here, and the next step will be the supramental race, which will be one more step above the normal human being. So it is very, very clear in what we say. The evolution is on earth. Evolution of consciousness may not be on earth for individuals. They experience the evolution of consciousness and can leave the physical world and go up and enjoy eternally if they want. Okay? There are many souls who decide to live forever in the spiritual planes of consciousness. Brahma Loka, Ananda Loka, okay, Vijnana Loka, all these lokas are there in heaven. And all these worlds are there, and you can decide to live in those worlds forever. And when the time comes, the body mind life will disappear, but the soul is living there forever. And these are the beings that are there. These beings are different, but rishis, if you read our scriptures, Mahabharata and Ramayana, constantly there is reference to rishis, okay, and siddhas, who have gone and are living there forever in the higher worlds. Okay? So they are not imagination, they are real. But there are other beings which are eternal and not evolved beings. Rishis and siddhas are evolved beings living in the heavenlier worlds. But there are creatures which live there permanently right from the beginning. In matter, in the vital world, there are elves and gnomes and small elemental creatures. They are immortal. Then you come to the mind level, then there are angels and kinnaras and gandharvas. They are all in the mental worlds. Then in the overmind, there are gods. Even in the supermind, there are beings. Okay, these beings are, as I say, nature abhors a vacuum. So in these, everything, all these worlds are occupied. And at the highest level, it's a divine that occupies the highest level. We'll read this. We have got 8 minutes. We'll read it's not a very big para. Now, when Sridhar is saying you must pay full attention to his words. Our theory means...
Dada,
yes, tell me.
Dada, you have just told that in overminds also there are beings. So these beings are the gods, Dada? Are they
Yes,
gods?
they are gods.
Okay. Thank
They
you.
are semi-divine creatures, not fully divine, but semi-divine. Even the angels and all that in the mental worlds are also semi-divine. They don't have forms. They can take any form they want, and they are beings of light. Okay, so that's right. So we read the text that we read just now. Our theory of the integral knowledge. Note the two words, our theory and integral knowledge. He is not talking of the normal theory. He is talking of his own theory. Our theory of the integral knowledge admits mind as a creative principle, a power of the being, and assigns it its place in the manifestation. So, mind is a creative principle. It's very interesting. Just see, can mind of man be creative? Of course it can create. It has created the mobile. It has created the car. It has created the aeroplane. But what is the difference then between the creative power of mind and the creative power of the divine? There is only one difference. The creative power of mind is using materials which already exist. But the creative mind, the creative power of the divine is using materials which he himself is creating. Okay, that's the only difference. But mind is a creative power. There's no doubt about it. That's why Srimdev uses the word secondary power. Mind is creative but secondary power. Okay. The power of the being and assigns it its place in the manifestation. It similarly accepts life and matter as powers of the spirit, and in them also is a creative energy. So even matter is creative. Okay. And life also is creative. Life is creative very obviously. It's creating plants and different species, okay, all the animals. So life is a very supreme power. But what about matter? Sridhar is saying matter also is a creative principle. Okay? So it's very interesting. Creative principle of life and mind, we can give examples. But creative principles of life, matter, is maybe more difficult to give. But just now some ideas are striking me. For instance, a volcano, okay, is pure matter, but it's a new form. Okay? What about the whirlwind? What about the whirlpool? The whirlpool also is a form of matter only. And it's not life, it's only matter. So there also, matter also is creating all these forms. Okay, so it's interesting. So life also is, the mind is definitely creative. We can see that. Life is creating very obviously because it's creating plants and animals. But matter also is creating material forms which don't exist normally. Interesting. So I go back to the text.
But would you call a volcano or a whirlwind as something creative or destructive?
No. Wherever there's creation.
Destructive in a way which produces creation later on.
Okay, but don't you think that destruction also is a creative? From a neutral state, something is coming up. So even destruction is a form of creation. Isn't it? Just think
Yes,
about it.
yes.
Yes, exactly.
Because volcano, when the lava flows, it
Ah,
makes the soil very fertile.
yes,
For
that's right.
example, in Hawaii, the
That's right.
soil is extremely fertile.
Yes, that's right. Okay. So now I go back to what Chandra said. It similarly accepts life and matter as powers of spirit, and in them also there is a creative energy. But the view of things that makes mind the soul and the supreme creative principle, and the philosophies that assign to life and matter the same soul reality or predominance are expressions of a half truth and not the integral knowledge. So let's see what he is referring to. The view that makes the view of things that makes mind the soul and supreme creative principle and the philosophies. So he's talking of the Mayavada philosophy and the Buddhistic philosophy. Okay? Mind is the supreme creator. Okay? It is mind that is creating the universe. Okay? That simply does not accept. It's only half true. Then what about the philosophy that assigns to life and matter the same soul, reality, and predominance? He's talking of materialism. Okay? So these are all half truths and not the integral knowledge. It is true that when matter first emerges, it becomes the dominant principle. It's true. It seems to be and is within its own field the basis of all things, the constituent of all things, the end of all things. But matter itself is found to be a result of something that is not matter, of energy. Now, I leave the text and go back to what he said elsewhere. It's very interesting. Can matter exist by itself? Even science has discovered that matter is really energy. So it is energy that supports matter. Then if you go one step more, does energy exist by itself? Then he says that no, there is consciousness that supports the energy. So if you go back even more, you finally end up with Satchidananda. So this is another place he mentions this. Okay, so matter itself is found to be a result of something that is not matter, of energy. And this energy cannot be something self-existing and acting in the void, but it can turn out, and when deeply scrutinized, what is meant by deeply scrutinized? When you examine in great detail, when can you do that? When you go to a superior plane of consciousness, spiritual knowledge. Seems likely to turn out to be an action of the secret consciousness and being. When the spiritual knowledge and the experience emerge, this becomes a certitude. It is sure that the ultimate is a consciousness that is creating all these things. It is seen that the creative energy in matter is a movement of the power of the spirit. Matter itself cannot be the original and ultimate reality. At the same time, the view that divorces matter and spirit and puts them as opposite is unacceptable. Matter is a form of spirit, habitation of spirit, and here in matter itself, there can be a realization of spirit. So, what is this last? The view that divorces matter and spirit? Christianity, okay, and Islam, and also Manichaeanism. Okay, so all the, or even I'm not studying deeply, but even Zoroastrianism, they speak of Ahura Mazda and Ahriman. They are two opposite principles, the divine and the devil. So these is not accepted. They are essentially the same. That's what it's saying. Okay, so 840. Next we'll take up. It is true again. That way. So,
Can I ask a question?
of course, go ahead.
You know, the various atoms, they
Ah,
all join together and form a molecule. And all the molecules join together to form a substance. Okay.
yes, yes.
Now, what is it that binds the atoms to form a molecule and molecules to aggregate together and produce thing? Would
Oh,
it be consciousness that joins all this together? For example, sand.
yeah, yeah. I've
It
understood your
has
question.
been it has been the pebbles which were beaten by the sea and they produce sand.
Yeah.
So, what can make the sand join together again to become a pebble? Is it consciousness which makes that?
No, I will refer you to certain basic laws. That's why I constantly go on saying that there are certain fundamental laws that you must never forget. Okay? There is the one at the highest level, and there is multiplicity at the lowest level. But each is involved in the other. Okay? The oneness is bound to produce multiplicity because it's inherent in it. And in the multiplicity, which is the atoms, there is bound to be the force of oneness. Okay? So it is bound to be the force of oneness that joins atoms. That power of oneness is there, and it forces separate atoms to come together and make molecules, and separate molecules join again to make living tissue. And then life appears. Okay? This is how you have to see it.
Okay, I understood.
Yeah, that's right. And it goes on and on. Now in consciousness also exactly. Yasmin is separate, Archana Ji is separate, Shilpa is separate, I am separate. But in consciousness, as you keep going up, oneness starts manifesting itself more than multiplicity. Okay? And as you keep going higher and higher, oneness starts becoming the basic principle. Okay. At the highest level, only oneness with the capacity of multiplicity involved in it. And at the lowest level, infinite multiplicity, but with the capacity of oneness involved in it. If you see that, then you will understand the process. Okay?
Merci beaucoup.
Okay. It's very, these basic principles, if you remember, a lot of things get explained. The one becoming the many, the infinite becoming finite, okay, the formless becoming form. All these things you must remember.
So,
Okay.
Rangada,
Yeah, Shilpa, tell me.
so Rangada,
Yes.
the concept that I am doing something, I am the karta. This karta bhav is totally negligible because everything is on its own, something going on. We take the credit that I have done it. It's me who has done it, but everything is about to be done and it has done. We are only a karta or say a small hand in
Yes.
between.
That when that consciousness of the karta is there, the principle of separation is still acting. Okay. Then when you realize that you are not the doer, okay, then the consciousness of the one is taking precedence over the consciousness of the multiplicity, of the division. Unity and division, that's it. So what Shilpa is saying is very interesting. When you realize that you are not the karta, okay, when you think that you are the karta, the law of separation, the law of separation and multiplicity is dominant. But when you realize that you are not the karta in the spiritual plane of consciousness, then the oneness starts asserting itself. You feel yourself to be one with everybody else, and you are not the only doer. Universal nature is doing the things. Okay? Yeah, it's a very interesting thing. Okay. We have gone 5 minutes beyond our time. So I stop.
Yes, Rangada, thank you.
Okay.
You don't have a
bye,
class?
Rangada. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah, it's
Thank
very.
you.
Thank you, Rangada. Thank you, Rangada.